Okay, something really bothered me yesterday. I woke up, we saw that Maduro had been snatched in the middle of the night by U.S. Special Operations, and I thought, what a wonderful thing, until I started to globally surf the worldwide news outlets to see what they were saying, to see how many people would be pro and how many people would be against. I did not expect to hear in the United States, or maybe I did, that there would be people against snatching Maduro out and bringing him to justice. So first, let's talk about what happened in New York, that a federal court had actually charged Maduro. There was an indictment on file for he and his wife, I think one of his children, I think several people around him. So he was already a criminal in the United States. So if you or I had done this, there would be no issue with someone sending the law to our house to snatch us out from wherever we were and bring us to justice. Yet yesterday, unfortunately, I heard some of our politicians, on both parties, by the way, speak against the idea that we were bringing the leader to justice when they were openly acting against U.S. interest. Now, I don't know if this is the hawkish people who would have preferred we had invaded or that we had gone to Congress and had a declaration of war, but this to me is utterly ridiculous. Because in the end, to take Maduro from power quietly, efficiently, without massive loss of life, without massive deployment of equipment or loss of equipment into a country, bring that person back with law enforcement. Remember, this operation happened with law enforcement so that we could make sure that we had followed all of the rules that are part of that federal prosecution and bring him back to justice. And to hear people in the United States, duly elected people who swore to uphold and defend the Constitution, claiming that this was overreach, that it was too much. Now, I expected that when I tuned in or I listened to comments from China or Russia or Iran or North Korea maybe. I did not expect to hear that when I was hearing comments from duly elected representatives. It makes me question right off the bat, what's their motivation, really? I mean, is there something that I'm not seeing, something that I'm missing? We bring a criminal. We've done this before. There's precedent for it. They talk about that under the War Powers Act, he has certain things. There's an argument that this wasn't even a war powers sort of exercise. This was a legal exercise going to bring an fugitive from justice to justice. So it bothers me when I hear a congressman or congresswoman claim that this was not for the American people, not pro-American people. And to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says, well, then what about Mexico and what about this and what about that? Marjorie, you have to start somewhere. And right now, starting with Venezuela, where we actually had a government that was openly harboring people who wanted to do us harm, and we're setting on huge oil reserves, setting on huge mineral reserves that were going out. We are at a deficit right now in minerals. We need those minerals to have the computers, to have the conveniences for all the things we have and use in the U.S. and in modern societies. So to say, well, what about Mexico? You can't just go invade South America and Central America. And the Mexican president has been pro-U.S. So let's be careful about, jumping into everywhere or saying anything that we do, any action is not good enough. Recent change in Marjorie Taylor Greene, to see her go so hard against the president, I don't understand it. I think she's just, about 10 days away from leaving Congress and being out. Now, let's talk about the top 5 things that Nicolás Maduro did to earn this designation. And let's talk about the things that he did both in terms of the people of Venezuela and in terms of the people of the United States. Number 5, economic plunder and state collapse. If you've ever seen a bad guy walk into a place and take things and take, as Ayn Rand used to talk about, the net takers, right? That there are people in this world who all they do is take. They give nothing back, they produce nothing, and they really have very little to offer, but they want and they want to take. I see some of this in AOC when she's in New York talking about the idea that we need to just make the rich pay more, tax the rich more, make them pay their fair share. How about if we ask these people who don't have enough to get some new skills, to maybe bring something to, be a net giver. If you're a net giver, you're going to be satisfied. By the way, if you're not satisfied with what you have, there are people all over this world who have very little and are very happy. And there are people all over this world who have very much and are not happy. So if you think that the money or those things are going to be the things that make you happy, think again. That's not it. You've got to bring balance when these things happen. You've got to have a higher desire, and a desire to serve and to provide is really one of those things that just kind of hits the human heart. We're made to create. We are designed to build and to provide goodness and to provide things. And when you don't do that, you're just not going to be happy. When you plunder the state like Maduro did, you preside over the destruction of a resource rich, I mean really rich country, and you take that. Who knows how many billions he's pulled away? Oil production collapsed. Hyperinflation exploded. People can't buy a loaf of bread without bringing, $10,000 to the supermarket. And that's if you can find a supermarket. State assets looted. Venezuela didn't fail because of sanctions. It failed because the state was allowed to hollow out the country from the inside out. Number 4, weaponizing mass migration. More than 7 million Venezuelans were forced to leave. He opened up the prisons. He opened up the mental hospitals and sent them all to the United States or places north. Largest migration in modern Western Hemisphere history. Do you remember them during the Biden administration on the trains, riding on top of the trains? It looked like India. It looked like those movies that you see with the crowds piled on top of the trains like it's 1810 or something. But there they were. Neighboring countries absorbed the cost, humanitarian, economic, and political turmoil caused by his bad actions. Number 3, turning Venezuela into a criminal state. So now you don't know how to produce from the efficient, effective means that you came into power with, so you have to figure out some thug-like behavior to generate revenue to continue to at least pay for your own defense. You've got to remember, he didn't believe in his own military to protect him. He had a Cuban protection guard, right? So this tells you something. Maybe you're not that loved in the country. People may stop thinking about Maduro in 2 weeks, maybe 2 hours, and be looking forward at what the future looks like. Venezuela became the hub of drug trafficking, money laundering, illegal gold mining. Criminal networks didn't operate around the state, they operated through it. It was the conduit for criminal actions. And instability didn't stop at Venezuela's borders. It was their number 1 export. 2, crimes against humanity. Political prisoners were detained, tortured, and disappeared. You can't disappear people and be a good person, right? It's just all stop. Security forces carried out extrajudicial killings. Hey, we don't have time to take this guy to court. Take him out back and shoot him. I mean, that stuff has never been in favor. It's never been legitimate. It's juntas and strongmen who can't win and with rational actions who take these sorts of actions. This wasn't a random abuse. It was systematic and it was directed from the top. The number 1 thing that Nicolás Maduro did to destroy Venezuela was destroying democracy itself. Maduro dismantled Venezuela's constitutional order. So he takes things apart from the inside out. He neutralizes the legislature. He rigs the elections. He ruled through parallel institutions, mainly his cartel. It's not a root crime. Once democracy fell, everything else followed. So what does this mean for us? 1, don't listen to these dodos who get out here and espouse some higher order, some higher level, some thinking that's beyond your comprehension, that they're just too smart for you to say, hey, Maduro was illegally and illegitimately removed by President Trump. These are just people who have that Trump derangement syndrome, or they hate the idea that the U.S. has finally given someone a knuckle sandwich for being a bad actor against the U.S. It's about time that we fought back in these places where we are constantly absorbing the impact of their negligence as they build tremendous wealth on the throats of the very people that they're there to represent, while they export violence, they export drugs, death, and just illegal activity of all types. You can criticize U.S. policy without whitewashing a regime that criminalized the state itself, right? If you don't like what Trump did, you think he needed to go to Congress, surely you understand why that wouldn't work. In our time, if by the minute a third person comes in, it's not a secret, right? It's a secret when it's between a couple of people. And in this case, we had a very small community, law enforcement and military, go to enforce a U.S. legal warrant and bring someone to justice. Well, now that's happened. So listen, At the end, that's what it really means for you. Top 5 things, and the lesson here's simple. Democratic institutions fall, corruption and violence rush in to replace them. Trump's main job now is just to minimize the disruption, stabilize the country, and then hand it off to the Venezuelans who want to live in peace and prosperity. And that's the long game. And if you like this type of content, please like and share and follow us for more.